I got the bus into town. It was dark, and the streetlights were on, and it looked beautiful. I couldn't understand to begin with, but then I saw it, because of the fine rain falling, which made everything seem to shine. Even the cars go by, seeming to smile at me. I tried to think of some things to say to Maddie. She was into books. I used to read books when I was younger. The Famous Five and Biggles, stuff like that. But then I stopped. I don't know why. In English, we'd been reading a book called Case, about a boy who had a pet kestrel. It wasn't exactly cheerful. The people are poor, and the main kid gets bullied, and then he gets caned by the teacher for something that wasn't his fault. His mom's a slut. The only good thing in his life is the kestrel. But then his brother kills it. I liked the book a lot, but I didn't think it would impress Maddie, because it was just a school book, and even worse than that, it was what they gave you to read in the Thicko class, because it was short. Maddie probably likes Shakespeare and that kind of thing, so best steer clear of books. Then I thought about something I'd read in a magazine while I was waiting in the dentist. It said that clever girls are always being told that they're clever, and pretty girls are always being told that they're pretty. So if you want to impress them and make them like you, you should tell pretty girls that they're clever, and clever girls that they're pretty. Because then they'll be surprised and think you've seen right into their soul. I liked the way Maddie looked, but I didn't think she was what most people would describe as pretty. But she was definitely clever, so it meant I had to say how nice she looked. I thought of different ways of saying it. I could tell her how nice her hair was, and her eyes. I could tell her I liked the way her body moved, but I wouldn't say it in a way that made it sound like that was all I was after. That was all I was after. I mean, like, touching her and stuff. It was a 10-minute walk to the cinema from the bus station. It was early, so I dawdled, looking at the shop windows. The rain was still in the air, but the drops were so tiny it was like cold mist, and I loved the feel and taste of it. Even better, I always thought my hair looked best when it was wet from rain. I walked through the big department store to the main street, which was open late on Thursdays. A woman who looked so perfect she could have stepped right out of a magazine smiled at me and asked if I wanted to try some aftershave. I suppose she was bored. I blushed and let her spray some on me. It smelled nice, of lemons mixed with flowers. I'd never smelled like this before. It made me feel good, and I didn't mind that I was being followed by 3 store detectives. There was a section where they sold amazing chocolates. You could select each one, and they put them into a box for you and wrapped it up by hand. I checked my money. I had nearly 40 pounds. It was all my money taken from under the paper in my sock drawer. The tickets for the cinema were £6 each. I decided to spend £10 on chocolate for Maddie, which would have £18 for emergency. A nice lady helped me choose, and when she asked if they were for my mom, I laughed and said no, and then blushed again, and she smiled at me. I think she put extra effort into wrapping them up nicely with the box, first inside some cellophane and then a thick pink paper, and then tied with a ribbon and a bow, and finally put into a paper bag with handles made of what looked like straw twisted into a kind of string. It felt like the most precious thing I'd ever held, even if there weren't very many chocolates in it. I couldn't remember exactly where we'd arranged to meet. I mean, inside or outside. I went into the foyer, and she made sure she wasn't already there, checking every place she might have been. Then I waited outside for a while, but got a bit cold because by now my shirt was soaked. Back inside, I looked at the electronic board with the films scrolling across in angular red letters. I didn't go to the cinema very often. In fact, in my whole life, I'd probably been about 5 times. And I was looking forward to that part of the evening, too. I thought about buying the tickets, but I was worried I'd choose the wrong film. 3 different films started at 8, and it was nearly that now. But I knew the adverts and trailers went on for ages. I walked up and down in the lobby, checking the big clock every few seconds. as people, young and old, scruffy and smart, most laden with huge buckets of popcorns or paper cups of Coke, the size of waste paper bins, flowed around me. I didn't have a mobile to call her, and that didn't matter because I didn't know her number. At 8:05, I began to get worried. At 8:45, I began to feel sick. More films began at 8:30, but then 8:30 went, and then 9 o'clock. By then, I was in a weird sort of trance, not really expecting her to show, not able to move in case I missed her. And if I left then, well, all hope would be gone. If I stayed, there would always be hope. At 9:30, people began to come out from one of the earlier sittings. I recognized one of them. It was Kirk. He was in the middle of the foyer, and there was nowhere to hide. At least, I thought to hold a fancy bag behind my back. "Hey, Paul," he said in an unexpectedly friendly way. "What are you doing here?" He was with a girl. She was from the year below, and I didn't know her name, and Kirk didn't introduce her. She had straight black hair, and black eyeliner, and a black dress that went down to the floor. She was pretty, but she looked very young, and maybe Kirk was a bit ashamed of her, and that's why he didn't introduce her. Or maybe he was ashamed of knowing me. I'm waiting for someone. Then Kirk talked about the film they'd seen, discussing the cinematography and stuff I didn't really understand. It was a French film called La Règle des Jeux, showing as part of some arty movie season they had on. The little girl looked bored out of her skull. Finally, Kirk seemed to be ready to go on. As a parting shot, he asked, "Who is it you're waiting for, anyway?" "No one," I said. "No one, really." "No, go on, tell me," he said, and he sounded so friendly that I thought maybe I'd got him wrong, and that he was okay. And I felt like an idiot standing there, obviously waiting for someone, and then denying it. And so, stupidly, I told him. "Maddie, we arranged to see a film." His face did something odd. A quick smile, followed by a look of grave concern. "Maddie, don't you know?" "What?" "She's with Shane tonight." "What do you mean?" "They're having an evening together." Kirk said it slowly, sounding each word, making it sound like something special and different. "I don't get it." "Well, you know what his mom and dad are like. They let him do anything down there. They're really laid back about it, as long as they use condoms. Reckon they'll bring them coffee or cigarettes on a tray afterwards." Wish my parents were more like that. "Come on," said the girl, looking at her feet. Yeah. Kirk gave me a, "Gee, what is with these chicks" kind of look. Then he creased his face once again into an expression of concern. "You did know, didn't you? I mean, Maddie and Shane? About them shagging?" "Yeah, of course," I said. "We were just going to see the cinema. There was a film. She must have, forgot or something. Women, eh?" And then the girl gave him a playful slap and dragged him away, and he called out, "See you tomorrow," over his shoulder. I waited till they were gone, and then I went to sit on the steps leading up to the screens on level 2. I sat there for about 20 minutes. To begin with, I played over and over what Kirk had said. Then I imagined Maddie and Shane together. I could see them kissing, talking with their heads together, so close that they could stop talking and start kissing without having to move. I heard them laughing at me, laughing at the geek who thought he could become just like them, who maybe thought he could get into that tiny space between them, a space so tight that even a kiss could span it. I threw the chocolates in the bin and walked home through the rain.